Hello, my coolest kindergartners. Today we're going to talk about shape, but we're going to talk about a certain kind of shape called organic shape. Now you guys know shapes. You know that this is a square, and this is a circle, and a triangle, rectangles, maybe even something like a rhombus or a diamond, hexagons. All of these shapes have names. They're geometric shapes. You might learn about them in math one day. But we're going to talk about shapes called organic shapes. Organic shapes are shapes that don't always have a name. So maybe if you have a splat of paint, whoop, that is an organic shape. Or maybe just a weird and wonky shape like this. It could also be something you know, like a cloud or a flower. Those have names, but they don't really fit the geometric shape. Organic are more free-flowing shapes. They don't really have a name. So we're going to work on a project today that's nothing but organic shapes. And we're going to take our inspiration from Mr. Matisse, like we read about in the book. So what you're going to do first is grab your paper, and we're going to start with some big organic shapes. Let me find a pencil. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to fill my space with some big organic shapes. I'm going to start with maybe something like this. That one's really big, but that's what I want, big shapes, because we might fill these later. Maybe some of them kind of fit together. Maybe one kind of looks like candy corn. Maybe I've got a wiggly wonkly one. That's a real technical term, wiggly wonkly, I promise. And then maybe this rounded shape like this. Now, before we paint these, we're going to add a little bit of crayon. Not a lot, a little bit of crayon. And we're going to do something called a watercolor resist. I know you guys have been working hard on practicing with your watercolors. So I'm going to show you this really cool trick. We're going to add a few patterns. Patterns are things that repeat. So think like polka dots or stripes. Inside each of these organic shapes, we're going to pick a color and add some patterns. Not maybe, I do want you to do this. So inside this one, maybe I'll do some dots. I'm going to stay inside the shape. Just this one. This one's going to have polka dots. It's almost looking like a piece of Swiss cheese. Alright, I'm going to pick another color because variety, we like variety as an artist. Oh, maybe this one I'll do stripes. And now, what I want you to remember is when you're making these patterns, I want you to make sure your crayon lines are very dark. That means you're going to have to push down a little bit harder than you normally would with your crayon. If your crayon breaks, that's okay, because guess what? Broken crayons work the same as unbroken crayons. Miss Shock has a hard time not breaking crayons with her big lady hands, so I understand. But they still work, so don't throw it in the trash. But make sure those lines are nice and dark. Yeah, I'm going to show you why in a minute. Alright, there's my green. Let's do some blue. So maybe in this one I will do... I'll do some hearts. Now, there's different ways you can draw hearts. I know how to draw hearts because I've been doing it for a very long time because Miss Shock's an old lady. So, if you need practice, what you can start with is an M, and then close it with a V. Boop! Now you made a heart. You can make skinny hearts, big wide hearts, little baby hearts, different sizes. Creates variety. And we like variety. Keeps things exciting. Okay, let's get some yellow. Oh, maybe I'll just do some little what do you call those? Snowflakes? But they're yellow. Watch out for yellow snow. Good thing we don't have snow in Texas, right? Okay, one more shape I need to put some color in. Oh, I need some purple in my life. Okay. Or maybe this one I'll do curvy lines. There's no right or wrong. There are so many different patterns. You could use lines to create patterns, shapes to create patterns, colors to create patterns, words to create patterns. So many options. Okay, this is where we're going to start. When you're done with this part, now you need to get your watercolors and your paintbrush. Okay, got my water bucket. Got some paints. Actually, I'm going to move this up to the top so you can see it a little bit better. See my paints? Alright. So, remember when we use watercolors, we need lots of water on our brush. I think I'm going to use a smaller brush for this so that I can get the paint where I actually want it to be. Let's see. You know what? Green and a little bit of magenta might look nice together. So let me get a lot of water on my paint. I'm making a little swimming pool on top of my paint. And remember, we have to be very gentle with our watercolors. Very gently mix that water with the paint. Otherwise, your paintbrush will smush into the paint and make a big, big mess. Alright, now I've got my watercolor. Now watch what happens when I paint on top of crayon. Woo! This is called a resist. What that means is the water from the watercolor is resisting the crayon, because crayons are made out of wax and they're oily, and watercolors are mostly water, and water and oil do not mix. So if you pushed really hard with your crayon like I told you to, your crayon should be showing through your paint because it's resisting the water. So that means we're using two different kind of mediums. We're using crayon and paint together in the same artwork. A lot of artists use multiple types of mediums. Some artists collage paper onto their canvas before they paint on it. Some artists use paint and markers together. It's always a good idea to try new things. So maybe try some things together that you wouldn't think of. Maybe markers and crayons. Okay. So I'm going to finish painting this and I will speed it up until I am done. Alright, now I've got all my big organic shapes colored. Now we're going to use all of this space around those big organic shapes. We call that negative space because it's in the background. We're going to fill it with some smaller organic shapes, and we're just going to free paint those. We're not even going to draw them. We're just going to go in there and fill in those little empty spaces with whatever little shape pops in our head. Always remember to wash your brush before you change colors. Otherwise you'll end up with a big muddy mess. Mud is fun when you play with it outside, but don't make your artwork a big mud pile. Here, just a few more spaces to fill in. Uh-oh, I just made a really gross color because I didn't wash my brush very well. Don't tell on me. I'm kind of trying to fit these other organic spaces in. Oh, it's almost like it fits together like a puzzle. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a bunch of weird germs swimming around a petri dish. But these are friendly germs. Friendly germs have beautiful colors and patterns, okay? Okay, I think I'm good with that. So now I've got tons of organic shapes all over my paper. I could probably put something in there, but you know what? I'll think about that overnight before I make a final decision. I can't wait to see what kind of awesome organic shapes you guys come up with. Remember to submit your artwork on Schoology, and I'll see you next week.